Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to install a Tusk Mid Body carburetor gasket kit. This is going to be for any of the Kian FCR carb owners that their bike doesn't idle or you just can't seem to get it jetted right. You've already checked your valves, things like that, and you know that this stuff is bad in here. It's pretty simple to do. We've got a separate video that shows you how to go all the way through the carburetor, but in this one, this is for somebody that already knows how to do that stuff, and maybe this is your first time doing a mid-body carburetor gasket kit. So with that being said, let's get started. Now on these Hondas, you're gonna see some white goop on top of these screws, and that stuff can be kind of a pain to pick out of there. You can use a pick just to clean it out, but we're gonna use a pencil torch and just melt that stuff on all 4 screws on top. Then we also have 2 screws inside that need to be loosened up. So I'm gonna heat those up as well, just to help the process be a little bit easier. You don't want to put too much tension on these screw heads. And the whole reason we use compressed air is just to make sure we don't have any fuel or anything that could catch fire when we do this. The sizes we are using are 2 and 2.5 millimeter Allens. And before I take those 4 top screws out, I've got 2 on the bottom that I'm just going to crack loose. And again, I'm using a little heat. And these are going to be the 2 millimeter Allen. And this push rod for the accelerator pump, you can pull that straight out if you want to, but we're going to leave it on. It's just going to be less work in the long run. So we'll go ahead and remove these top 4 screws all the way. So from here, we can go ahead and remove that mid body. Pull straight out just like that. You can see all those gaskets on there. Man, that thing stinks. So the 2 screws on the bottom, they're gonna remove this piece right here. And before I take these screws all the way out, just take note of how this actually sits on here. So there's that little notch in the front. Same with this piece right here going around where that jet needle comes up through. And that top piece will come right off. And then from here, we can go ahead and remove all of that existing rubber in the mid body. And some of this stuff is gonna be caked on there, so you might have to scrape it off, but we're just using a pick and getting it cleaned out. And then on this carburetor, we have the O-rings right where all of those screws went through as well. And then from here, we need to get everything cleaned up before we reassemble. So you can see we have some of this O-ring, it's baked on to the other side of the carburetor body. And we need to clean that off without damaging anything. So if you have a little gasket scraper or razor blade, you could very carefully run it across there. Again, don't damage or don't scratch this surface. We're going to be using an ultrasonic cleaner and then start with assembly. We are ready for assembly. We're going to start by taking a little bit of blue Loctite. These 2 smaller screws that came in the kit, I'm just going to apply a drop to each of those. Let any extra run off of there. And then for this top piece, we've got this smaller gasket. I'm going to apply some of this silicone grease just to hold it in place. And you just want a thin coating. You don't want to get any grease in these small orifices or anywhere it's not supposed to be. Make sure that stays in place, which it is. So now we've got this hole in the very front. It's going to line up with the hole in the mid body. Go ahead and line that up. So we're looking good right there. And then through the mid body, we're going to install those screws we previously installed the Loctite on. So I'm coming through the bottom with those. I'm just going to tighten those down. Take a look at that seam right there. Make sure there's no gaps, just indicating that the O-ring didn't get hung up and fell out of place. Next, I have this main gasket for the mid body, and then the square ones. And again, just putting a little bit of that grease on here to hold it in place. And next we have the square gaskets going in place. I've got a little bit extra grease to help hold those down. Then we have the O-rings where all the screws go. Then on those O-rings, I make sure there's no grease down the middle. You can take any extra grease out with a little pick. We're going to apply a drop of blue Loctite or low strength thread lock to each of the screws coming in from the top. But again, some carburetors, those screws might come in from the bottom. And then from here, we're going to assemble the mid body to the main carburetor body. Just keep an eye on your O-rings and make sure nothing falls out of place. And as soon as that's together, I'm going to make sure it doesn't come apart. Check for any weird gaps or O-rings sticking out. This is looking good, so we can go ahead and install our screws. Do one last look around and then do your final tighten. There you have it for the Kian FCR flat slide carburetor. If you need the rebuild kit, you can find that on our website. Just click the link in the description below. And if you need more information about your carburetor, we've got several other videos that go along with this stuff. So make sure you check those out and subscribe to our channel. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.